Hello and welcome to another episode of Gadgets and Gizmos. My name is Gaurav Preti and we are the first one to get inside the Apple Store to get our hands on the new iPhone 6s. It's finally here in town and we'll tell you all about it. The iPhone 6s was launched in September this year. We're in October and it's already here. So I mean, they were correct when they said that India is the next big emerging smartphone market in the world. I think it's true. So the 6s is here. We have told you a lot about it. People have told you a lot about it. You've read a lot about it. Now, since it's here, we're going to tell you all about it once again. Over to Sahil.
Gaurav, you won't believe I've been outside the store for 5 hours. I've not even had dinner. And as you can see, we have a massive crowd out here. And finally, I've managed to get my hands on this new beauty, the iPhone 6s Plus. So let's see what's all the ruckus about. So here we have the new iPhone 6s Plus, and if you were wondering this looks quite similar to the previous model, then you're probably right because it looks bang on similar. It's pretty much the same design except for the fact that we have this new snazzy color which Apple calls rose gold. But the big deal out here is this new pressure sensitive display technology. So if I push and put some pressure on it, this display reacts to what I'm doing, what my fingers are doing. For instance, if I press this button, it'll get this new contextual menu out there which basically acts like a right-click button on a mouse. Apple claims this is going to change the way we guys use our smartphones. And well, they may be right. They've been right about a lot of things out here. Other than this, you get a faster processor, you get better cameras, and overall, it's a refined experience of the iPhone. We guys will soon have a review of this phone. Next week, in fact, we'll have both the models in review.
I'm at the Apple Store, but this week Google's much awaited Nexus 5X and 6P were also launched in India. And Sahil was really on his toes as he brings you the first impression of both the smartphones.
Last year, Google launched its first big screen smartphone. It was the Motorola-made Nexus 6. And it did quite well, but some people were critical because of its large 6-inch display. This year, Google returns with 2 new Nexus smartphones, and here we have the Huawei-made Nexus 6P. Now, this phone has a slightly smaller, more palatable 5.7-inch display. But more importantly, this is the first Nexus smartphone to have an all-metal body. This phone has been launched in India for Rs 40,000, and here we are taking a quick look at it. Now, Google claims that it has managed to cram a 5.7-inch screen in the space where you would usually find a 5.5-inch display, like the iPhone 6 Plus. And this is quite a feat, but it has to be noted that you have phones like the Galaxy Note 5, which also have a 5.7-inch screen and are smaller. So there's no denying the fact this is a big smartphone and you'll need to use 2 hands to use it. But at the same time, the build quality of this phone is absolutely exquisite. Google's Nexus devices have always had a couple of weaknesses. For instance, the rear camera and the battery life. Google claims they have fixed both those problems in the new Nexus 6P. It has this really nice 12.3 megapixel camera where Google talks about big pixels, which means the pixels can absorb a lot of light and they'll offer better image quality. Google is also talking up the battery of this. It's got a 3450 mAh battery, which is anyway quite large, but there's a new feature in Android Marshmallow called Doze, which can improve battery life by up to 30%. Also, this phone uses the new USB Type-C connector and it supports quick charging. Overall, on the imaging front and in terms of battery life, this phone is going to be quite good. You get the fastest Qualcomm processor on the market, 3 GB of RAM, and also a fingerprint scanner on the back, which Google calls Nexus Imprint. Overall, the performance of this phone should be really scorching fast and Oh, you also get the latest version of Android, which is Marshmallow, which is going to be quite awesome.
So we engage in Nexus for a couple of reasons. One is we want to make sure that the software has a great way to come to life. So we want to make it on great hardware, and that's Nexus. But we also want to make sure there's a pure version of Android out there as well. So Nexus is very important to us strategically. We will certainly want to have Nexus phones in the market.
Back in 2011, Google partnered with LG to create a stellar device called the Nexus 5. It had stunning performance, it had flagship class features, and frankly, it was quite affordable. It was quite popular. Unfortunately, last year, Google did not come up with a successor. Thankfully, this year, it has come up with a successor. It has partnered again with LG to create the Nexus 5X, which has been launched in India right now. And here we are, taking a close look at it. Like the Nexus 5, LG is stuck to a rather functional design with the Nexus 5X. By this I mean you get a plastic body, a sturdy kind of plastic body, which is really functional, it's easy to use, easy to handle, doesn't get smudged a lot, and it's really lightweight also. And it looks decent, it will not turn heads, but that's okay because this is not a really premium smartphone, it's a rather mid-range smartphone and it's going to do the job for most people. Get a really fast 6-core processor, you get this beautiful 5.2-inch Full HD display, you get 2 GB of RAM, and the phone is offered in 16 GB and 32 GB flavors. On the back you also get the fingerprint scanner, and yes, again you get the USB Type-C connector, which also supports fast charging. Overall it's quite a sturdy package. People have been literally heckling me about OnePlus 2 invites on social media. Just because we guys do this show, they think we have a special jack with the company. But the honest truth is, we don't have any invites. We ourselves did not get any. But here's the rub. If you're looking for a phone of the caliber of the OnePlus 2 and you don't have an invite, you shouldn't be fretting a lot because there's a stylish new kid in town. Of course, I'm talking about this new phone, the Moto X Style. One of the reasons that people have been really clamoring for the OnePlus 2 is because it offers a really good big screen experience. These days people want big screens to consume content, and the OnePlus 2 has a really good Full HD 5.5-inch screen. Well, the Moto X Style goes one better. It's not only slightly bigger at 5.7 inches, but it has a sharper screen. Design is another hallmark of the Moto X Style. It more or less looks like a supersized version of the second generation Moto X, which is not a bad thing because that was a really beautiful looking phone. It has this metal frame running through its body. It's got this rubberized back which feels really nice in the hand, and it has got this new design element which can be seen across Motorola's new devices. This design is a little more ergonomic because it is curved on the back and it snuggles nicely into your palm. The one area where the Moto X Style really pulls ahead of the OnePlus 2 is in the department of the cameras. The Moto X Style gets a really good 21 megapixel camera on the back. It is the same camera that was there on the Moto X Play, and it takes really good photos, be it low light or natural daylight or indoors, brightly lit or dimly lit. The photos have dollops of detail and they're color accurate, which is a really good thing. On the front, both the OnePlus 2 and the Moto X Style have a 5 megapixel camera, but the Moto X Style has a cool little trick of its own. It has a flash on the front too, and that's something the OnePlus 2 doesn't have. One of the reasons why phones like the OnePlus 2 have been so popular is because they promise performance of phones like the iPhone 6 and the Galaxy S6, which honestly are blinding fast. Well, the good news is that the Moto X Style is equally fast. It's a master at multitasking, and Android Lollipop flies like butter. It's beautiful. The interface is also very smooth to operate, and generally you won't have any problems with this phone. The phone ships with a turbocharger, which means that the phone can charge really quickly if you run out of juice, and that's really fantastic. Yes, again, the OnePlus 2 doesn't have that feature. So friends, if you're looking to buy the OnePlus 2 and you don't have an invite, then you don't need to heckle me. You can just go to Flipkart and buy the Moto X Style. It's a completely no-nonsense smartphone. In fact, it's fast, furious and kind of beautiful. Also, it's going to be one of the first phones to get the Android Marshmallow update because, well, it's running stock Android like the Nexus smartphones. And it's really fluid. I really love it.
Now, in our gaming segment today, Rohit reviews Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain. Finally finished it. And all I can say is that after finishing the game, he cried. Here is his review.
Pandora's box.
To talk about the Phantom Pain is like opening the Pandora's box of game mechanics, systems and ideas. Whatever has transpired leading up to this release is probably not worth mentioning now. The great Konami Gate, as it were, has seen the once major game company falling to obscurity in a way similar to a Western standoff. It's almost as if the legacy of the Metal Gear series has been wiped off the face of the earth. Its eccentric creator Hideo Kojima seemingly banished from game development. Whatever transpires now is probably now just a passing interest, until such time as something transpires, which leaves us very conveniently to set our sights on the Phantom Pain. Seemingly the last game in the Metal Gear franchise, the Phantom Pain is bursting at the seams with content. With the endless array of techniques to approach its huge open world in any way, shape or form. A huge world held together by a single narrative thread. It's ironic then that the Phantom Pain is at its weakest when it comes to the story. The storyline in Phantom Pain never seems to hit the emotional highs of the first one or the nostalgia head trip of the fourth. Instead, it expands upon ideas and finishes some major story arcs, but does it in a way that feels rather off-handed. Without spoiling anything, let's just say some major events transpire here, but are never really tied together in a cohesive whole. The gameplay is where the Phantom Pain shines the brightest. Its intricate stealth mechanics have evolved to the absolute peak in this game. And the game systems and the way they interact with each other are at their finest. There's literally an endless array of options available to the player to tackle any given situation. Just spending time in this world is a pleasure. The stealth mechanics are not just expanded upon, but other systems come into play as well, such as Mother Base, which is a game in its own. Managing resources and building up your base is insanely fun, and gives you a real sense of attachment with the plight of your character, the big boss. The presentation of the game is A-grade too. The Fox engine is absolutely stunning in what it can accomplish. The facial animations, the environments, the characters, everything looks top-notch. This isn't short of a film production on hand here. The Metal Gear games are known for their long cinematics, and with this iteration they look the best that they ever have. If this is the last game in the series, rest easy knowing that this is probably the best one to date.
Alright, time to see what's making news in the world of technology. It's time for Tech News.
After hosting Prime Minister Narendra Modi late last month, Facebook's co-founder and CEO Mark Zuckerberg announced this Friday that he will be coming to India on October 28th. He will be coming to New Delhi to host a Facebook Town Hall question and answer session. India is Facebook's second largest market with 132 million users, and it is on track to overtake the US in the coming months. PM Modi is also one of the most followed politicians on Facebook. While the iPhone 6s was launched in India this week to a great fanfare, there were few takers for the new Apple's flagship phone at the launch. Store owners in multiple parts of Delhi NCR claimed that demand for iPhone 6s was lesser compared to what they saw for the iPhone 6. The iPhone 6s has an added premium of Rs 8,500 compared to the launch price of the iPhone 6. The 16GB model starts at hefty 62,000, while the competing phones like the Galaxy S6 comes with a higher base memory of 32GB and are available on e-commerce website for as low as 37,000 rupees. TRAI had made it mandatory for telecom operators to compensate consumers by ₹1 for call drops with effect from January 1st, 2016. This compensation will, however, limit it to 3 drop calls in a day. Space Exploration Technologies, or SpaceX, expects to return a repaired and upgraded Falcon 9 rocket to flight around the start of December, a company vice president said, less than 6 months after one exploded shortly after liftoff. The 208-foot-tall rocket carrying cargo for the International Space Station exploded less than 3 months after liftoff from Florida on June 28 this year. The Falcon 9, which failed after 18 successful flights, will carry a communication satellite for Luxembourg-based SES-SA.
Alright, with that, it's a wrap. We'll see you next week. Hope you enjoyed watching the episode, and I think it's time to open the gates now.